Okay, well, before I put the plugs in, I'm going to put new O-rings on them. We got an O-ring right here, so I'm going to pull that out. Now, you can do this with a screwdriver, fingernail, whatever works good for you. Take that thing out of there. Now, I have used paper clips in the past. Put a little hook on the end of a paper clip, get the thing under there, pull it off. I've used a knife, I've used screwdrivers, so you can do whatever gets it out of there without damaging the plug here or the threads. And there, if you lose patience, just pull the thing, break it, get that stupid thing out of there. There you go. Now, I don't recommend doing that if you don't have the correct washer or the O-ring in place, or in hand, I should say. All right, so here we go. We're going to put him in place. It wouldn't hurt to grease this, and I'm just going to kind of push him down, roll it. And then when he gets down to the bottom groove, kind of run my finger around it. Make sure that he's not twisted. All right, then the next thing I can do is go ahead and put him up in there. And again, if I want to, I can put that hex in there to get him started. Or by now, this engine's probably cooled to the point where I can put him in there without burning myself too badly. Again, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this or not. He's going to go right here. Snug. All right, you may be able to see this from across there. I'm not going to steam out the camera and put it in here again. Okay, I'm just going to put the plug up there where it belongs. Okay, take a funnel, I'm going to put them down in there, I'm going to start to fill it up. Now, I don't recommend you just upend the bottle and walk away, because depending on the type of filter that you have, if it happens to go down there and it forms a nearly airtight seal between this and the fill nipple here, or opening I should say, you might actually come back to a mess, as the air that's trying to be displaced from there might actually try to come up and gurgle through. So I usually just put that in there, and I start to pour it in. Now once I get to the point here where there, I'm sure nothing's going to gurgle and overflow, I'll go ahead and just set it upright like so and let it drain the rest of the way while I go do other things. So there's a couple spots here we need to lube with a grease gun, and I'll show you that a little later, but that's typically what I'd be doing now on pouring these bottles in there one by one. So there's that. Fill the transmission, so let's move him over here a little bit. Transmission, again, I pull this out of the way here. Normally, I have a bottle, just kind of like gear lube for a car, you know, rear axle, trans lube, and it usually has its own, I don't want to call it a spigot, but anyways, the little nozzle on the end of it's just right to get in there to do that. Again, my favorite independent place has, I shouldn't say they've changed, but the Synergen, the manufacturers of this particular well, put it in a different bottle. So I need another filter or funnel. Now this, I'm definitely not going to dump the whole quart in. This, pretty purplish kind of stuff, reddish. I don't want to overfill the transmission, and 1 quart is too much. I can't remember, I think Harley said somewhere between 24 and 28 ounces, somewhere in that neighborhood. Yeah, I'm going to fill it. Then I'll go ahead and check it with a dipstick. Now this is one that I normally check at least one other time after I've ridden it and get it nice and hot. This oil does expand somewhat with temperature. Engine oil does as well. So again, it's best to check these things when they are hot. So I'll get out of here and ride 20 or 25 minutes on the way to the house, and then I can check it there. It's very convenient here because this particular bike, to check the transmission level, it is supposed to be vertical like this. Doing it on a kickstand, this thing's leaning over way too far. So I'd love to have one of these things at home. I can just ride it on and check, but okay, I don't. All right, we'll let that dribble in there a little bit. I'm going to put in the second bottle of engine. I really don't care what kind of or whose engine oil you put in there. Something that works for you, great. I happen to use AMSOIL, 2050 motorcycle oil. This again was, I don't want to say at the urging, but to the recommendation of my favorite independent shop there, the Cycle Shack. I have used this, let's see, probably since about the 12,000 mile mark. I was fortunate enough to buy this bike new, so at 1,000 miles, changed it. Another 3,000 miles, then I changed it and I went with 2050 Screaming Eagle synthetic. I ran that. I tried Mobile 1 for one of them, and then again, Mike there recommended running the AMSOIL, and so I did. So about 12,000 miles or so from then up I have. I haven't had any difficulty with it at all. This particular generation bike, and well, several years prior to this year, there were problems apparently with the cam drive, the chains, and the cam tensioners, and there were quite a few bikes that ended up destroying not only the chain tensioner, but also some of the cams had catastrophic failures also. The father of my co-worker, friend of mine, has had 2 sets of cams put in along with the chains and the tensioners. So the first one was under 40,000 miles, the second one was about 90,000 miles. So I was using the AMSOIL. So can I say without any doubt whatsoever that that AMSOIL kept these chains, or the chain, and actually 2 chains, 2 tensioners in great shape? No, I can't say for sure. Now, I got to back up a little bit on there. At about 50,000 miles, somewhere thereabouts, I decided to upgrade the cams. So I put new cams, the new tensioner set up, the new cam plate, oil pumps, all of that stuff. So I've got kind of the hybrid set up now for this 06. But when I pulled those, the old chain, the old tensioners out, they actually were in great shape. Again, I took them to my local independent shop here, and he was amazed at how little wear was on those the tensioner shoes. So was it the AMSOIL? I don't know, but it's working. I'm having no problems, so I'll stick with it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and attempt to check the trans oil. As far as checking the transmission oil, it sure would be nice if they could just screw this thing all the way in and back out again. That way there's no ambiguity at all. But for this is kind of like the way some of the other manufacturers of motorcycles have you check the engine oil. You're going to take this dipstick, you're going to put it down in the hole just until the threads touch. You are not going to engage the threads. Okay, then you're going to pull it back out, you're going to take a look and see what it says. Now, in this case, this thing is close to the full mark. Now, the problem I have with this is such a big hole, and there is such, I mean, I can wobble this thing all over the place as I'm putting it in there. So if I'm not careful and I try to put it in, and I first put it in there, then align the threads, well, now I got the fluid clear up to here. So that's one issue I have with this particular setup. So if I sound a little annoyed, No, I'm not going to apologize. I am. All right. So, anyways, when I put this in, I attempt to keep the stick pointing up there a little bit until I can get the threads just a touch. Now it's oriented the way it should be. Pull it back out, and I am about midway between the add and the fold. So I'll put a little bit more in. And this time, I'll go ahead and add another quart of oil. Make a funnel. It has a tube running down through it that'll stop that gurgling from happening. But I didn't get one. I just stick with the old school stuff. There it is. All right, I'm not going to bother showing you me adding the next couple or 1.5 quarts of oil in and topping off the trans. So we'll go ahead and stop it at this point. I'll finish that part up.